Good evening, the Ranter is back to go into yet another rambling diatribe of the news of the day. Now, last week, I had done the video concerning the Nashville shooting, and pretty much all that was really just a plea to remember the people that died. Remember that is the story, that is the point. And have some respect for that. And I bade myself to also follow that and have the respect to not go into all the other issues that was swirling around it, as I was scolding others about them not bothering with that. So I had asked for people to give it a week. And if not week, 3 days. If not 3 days, 1 day. And, of course, that wasn't forthcoming. So, I waited a week before I decided to get into all the other issues concerning this. So, before we start that, I'm going to throw this reminder out there of what this is about. Okay? This is about the 6 people that died at Covenant School on the Presbyterian Church campus, where the school was on. 3 students, 9 years old, Evelyn DeCass, hopefully again I pronounced that right, Holly Scruggs, and William Kinney, and 3 staff members, Catherine Kuntz, Cynthia Peak, and Mike Hill. The reason why I bring this up, and the reason why I am reminding my dear viewers, my gentle snowflakes, of their names, is because this is about perspectives. This is about what really matters, okay? And these 3 people, 3 children, and their teachers, their faculty members of this school, are dead. And why I'm bringing this point up here, to reiterate why, is what I needed to remind people even on that very day. You want to hear how I heard about the Nashville shooting? You know, waking up and going online for my usual morning where I take the dog out, be up for an hour or so, and then go back to nap. Wake up the second time, a few hours before I go into work. So I go online and check the news, check Twitter and so forth. And on Twitter, how I hear about this shooting was seeing tweets from Charlie Kirk, who I don't even follow. And this is actually kind of irritating to me, how I'm getting shit on my feed that I don't follow, but against apparently someone else that I do follow them, so I have to be bombarded with bullshit that I don't even give a shit about from people I don't give a shit about, but be that as it may. So I see a whole line of these tweets from Charlie Kirk raging over what happened in Nashville, and this is, oh, there's a shooting in Nashville? Oh, holy shit. What's Charlie Kirk talking about? That his shooter is transgender? That's the thrust of all this? That's the point? And I swear to God, is that during the hours that I saw from prior to work, going into work, throughout the day when I was able to periodically check for any more information, Charlie Kirk and people like Charlie Kirk, who came on and talk about the transgender, never mention the names of those who died. Because apparently, to them, that wasn't the important thing. The important thing was that the shooter that had robbed the life of 3 children and 3 staff members of Covenant School was transgender. So, I tried to follow as much as that because I was getting pissed off about this. That Charlie Kirk first raged on the idea that this was a transgender woman doing this, so he goes off as it's being a guy. And then this gets corrected by the police and the New York Post and so forth that says that this person was misgendered. So Charlie Kirk rages and gets pissed off and rage tweets over the fact that people are giving a shit enough to care about this person being misgendered. In reality, he was probably more pissed at the fact that he got this wrong, and so instead of course correcting, just for the sake of being accurate, he just decided to insult the people that was doing the correcting on the deal. But that didn't matter because all day it was just anti-transgender this, anti-transgender that. And for more information, we hear about this, that there was apparently this person left a manifesto, and then the manifesto does not get released. We do not know what it says. But people who decided to have a wild hair up their ass decided to pretend as to what the manifesto says, and some trolls online decided to jerky up a manifesto claiming to be this person's, and so to even enrage the old anti-transgender sentiment even further. See, the thing is, we don't even know all the facts of what was going on from that day up into a week later, up to right now. Not everything we're privy to, because the cops are holding on to it. The New York Post says there was, but didn't reveal anything about it. There were so many other stories that are floating around in ethers on this. But the thing about me and my annoyance about all this is that people were certainly getting to make this into a whole lot of political hay over this. Marjorie Taylor Greene made this glib, snarky, smug, disgusting little fucking joke upon, well, since this is a transgender man, I guess people will just have to blame the white man again. Yeah, okay, whatever. Fuck. So what was pissing me off was, throughout all that time, the names of these 6 people were not mentioned once. It was about the rage against the transgender machine, apparently. And it is an interesting phenomenon, because then I would start seeing various tweets of various politicians that would go, Republican politicians, were going, what the hell? Why aren't these people going after the red flag laws? Why aren't people not giving a shit of red flag laws? Oh, you suddenly give a shit. Right? That all of a sudden, the things that would put stumbling blocks on certain people being able to acquire guns that you are totes against because of the Second Amendment, and that you want everyone to be able to pick up a gun like it comes out of a vending machine, all of a sudden the narrative gets a little tweaked, and it's now like, hey, what happened to the red flag laws? I mean, I throw this example out, which is historical, all the time in these various videos, especially concerning mass shootings, was how, it was pretty funny during the late 60s, early 70s, that the NRA got all kinds of interested in gun control when it turned out that black groups were considering forming rifle clubs. Oh, see. Translate that to, red flag laws. Why are we worrying about that now? And if you go from that one end of the spectrum, which we'll continue to talk about, you go to the other end of the spectrum, upon people who are transgender, who go into this tragedy, and they are thinking about themselves, and they are thinking about what this means for them. And as an outside observer looking into all this stuff and looking into the two perspectives that are clashing here, is I don't really blame those in the transgender community to be worried. Leading up to this Nashville tragedy, the politics of the day, going from mayor to the midterms and even earlier than that, for years, the transgender is the more that they become a visible group. That, I mean, we always know transgender has been with us forever in our history. In one form or another, how society takes them or doesn't take them, treats them like a joke, treats them marginally, dismiss them for whatever, they existed throughout our history. But the more and more visible that they get, and the more kind of societal acceptance they get as people to be taken seriously, the people that be respected, then there's a pushback on that. Some of the pushback is irrational. Some of the pushback is based on some form of fear. Not phobia, not transphobia, because I do tend to agree on a certain extent on people who criticize the term transphobia, but only in a slight way, because I think that can be a qualified term as to what people are really afraid about. But we'll go into that in another moment. But the more the transgender were getting acknowledged as, as people, as their own group that wasn't some sort of, mental or emotional defect, that, they're just transgender, let's humor them because that's what they are, but don't respect them, or don't respect what they say when they say they are this or they are that, and then be put upon when such respect is asked about. Then all of a sudden that is imposing upon you to treat them with enough respect just to say their name, however they wish to be said, how they wish to be addressed. I mean, you see the ridiculous bullshit about people complaining about pronouns, and people who were so against this whole thing is this, there were no pronouns here, there's no pronouns there. There weren't any pronouns in the Bible. Really? I am the Lord thy God. That's not a pronoun. You don't address the God, the Father. You don't address God as Him. Those are not pronouns. Really? I tend to believe in my weirdly form of spiritualism that the God I believe has some existence in this world is He, She, It. God is all creation. And to minimize God into saying that God is He, it's almost kind of insulting, really, but be that as it may. So the other side of this argument, that from what I'm observing of people in the transgender community, they do worry about themselves because they do see how the trend is in the backlash against them, how people have organized and done their, political campaigns, be it actually political or ideological, blues, I butchered that word, their narrative, that they bank their narrative on being anti-trans and anti-trans rights. And like any push, for one thing, there was a pushback in the other direction. Sometimes it's equal and measured pushback. Sometimes it goes a little bit over, sometimes it goes a little under. And the debate goes on certain issues concerning the transgender that I see as an outside observer, that it's hard to find the middle ground, or the middle place where people can like go, listen, let's try to understand each other on this and try to get solutions for certain issues. But we don't want to do that, especially since adversarial politics is the name of the game. It is the norm now. So we can no longer have a middle ground. Like, that's something I've rattled and ranted about in various other videos of various other topics. Because it all seems to fall together in the same thing of, like, even in the concept of the middle ground of understanding, we don't want to be on it. We have to be on one side, we have to be on the other side. Be the disagree with each other in our own echo chambers and demonize the other side for anything. And sometimes more extravagant and wild and outrageous and bullshit and whatever that you say, you just want to say that just to get the other people on your side snickering and laughing and bobbing their heads, whether you actually believe it or not. So, what I'm railing against is how in a space of this one day, last Monday, that we could not have a single moment of respect to even mention the names of the victims for certain people who were more geared to talk about the shooter and what was the gender identity of the shooter. And there's weird things when it comes to that, because, I was texting various people on this matter, and as much as I was getting information, I was sending information out. But each time this thing changed, I was trying to qualify myself to say, this is not exactly the way this goes. This is not exactly the way this goes. There may be some ambiguity. There may be some difference of opinion on certain things here. And hopefully the people who are getting this stuff is like, not taking whatever I say and, running with it without, rechecking to see what I was, correcting. And one of the weird things that I had noticed was that, I guess, what do you consider him? A conservative journalist, Andy NGO. He posted this thing about the shooter, including posting this profile from one of the social medias where the shooter addressed themselves with the pronoun he and him, okay? And amongst these other, it was like a collage of texts and the profile and various other things that was this one block, like a meme, right? And I was looking at that, and then a person that was objecting to that on the same Twitter line, I was like, why? What's up with that? Was that incorrect? This person produced the same social media profile of this individual that did not have a spot, that did not say the pronouns. But it's the same exact picture, the same exact background of this particular social media. So, right there, it's like, what? Is the one that Andy was pushing, was that doctored? Or was the one being given as the contrary that did not have the pronouns, was that doctored? And either way, someone with an agenda was pushing or disproving something factual. This is the same thing as people who were claiming that they knew what the manifesto said and was pushing out, anti-trans rhetoric, that this person was was being complete anti-Christian, and this was the shooting was against Christianity. We don't know what's in this manifesto, what was in these last words. We know that, according to the police, this person was planning this out in advance for months. This wasn't a passionate, as soon as I get a gun, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to shoot up randomly. This was meticulously planned for months, according to the police. There is other weird little news clips. A distant friend of this particular person, claims that this person contacted them out of the blue, said something to the effect that they were going to die today, that they were going to do something so they could be seen, and it will cost them their life to do so. It is kind of a balancing act to want to understand the motivations of somebody, but at the same time, in that acknowledgement and understanding of their motivations, that it doesn't translate into sympathy. Because no matter how bad somebody's life is, that does not give you license to take the life of someone else, be it a grown adult or a child. And if the motivation is just so that they can go out in this quasi blaze of glory, that finally this person will be seen for who or what they are, then that is why, one of the reasons why I have not mentioned the name of this person. I brought up the gender identity of this person in terms of it being newsworthy or not, but I'm not, concrete saying thus, that this person is thus. It is kind of dicey to do that in terms of this, if this could be a motivating force behind this person's intentions of what they did. Now, what we know about this person is that the Covenant School was not picked at random. It was targeted. This person went to this school years ago. As the rhetoric goes against this person in terms of them being transgendered, and, at the back end of it, saying that this person was, doing an anti-Christian hit, that it was intent on striking at Christians. These are amongst the other things that I see or observe from those in the transgender community that I've seen responses to or interact with myself, is that this is one of the reasons why people fear for themselves and fear for their community, because of people with their narratives going to town on this. There are other issues concerning, the pro are respectful of the transgender and the anti and hatred towards the transgender. Some issues that are both imaginary and real, that they're, once again, we're on both sides, and instead of there being a middle where people can meet and understand, there is a yawning chasm of nothing in the middle. So we're either at one end of it or the other end of it. I'm trying here as best as I can to be understanding of both sides here, but but at the same time, I am adult enough and I'm mature enough to understand when I see a narrative that people are using for their own purposes when it's a fucking tragedy. I would say this at the same time of those being who goes to town on the transgendered of the actions of this one individual. At the same time, I would go to town on the same people on the other side of this equation who talk about, on the same day it happened, to like, well, let's talk about guns. Let's talk about guns. And the maddening thing is I totally understand that point, and I kind of agree with some of that point, but once again, as I said in the Colorado shooting video, concerning that shooting, is that it's too soon for this bullshit. But again, you can't automatically 100% claim that this problem with people going to town on the narratives is a monolithic issue that is only right-leaning or conservative. The left, those individuals on the left, liberals or progressives, however you want to call it, who decide to see a tragedy like this and not wait for the bodies to be cold in the morgue to go to town on that. There is no moral high ground anywhere for this. And as I've seen of people that I know and I like and I respect, who decided to talk about these topics, they conflated what is happening with this individual and what the evil this individual did to these 6 people, 3 of them being children, and conflated that to everything else concerning the transgender that are political hot topics. Not even connecting the dots, really, just sort of like, this thing happened here, so let's talk about bathrooms. Or let's talk about libs of TikTok. Or let's talk about drag story hour since drag queens and the transgender are not really real things or real connected things other than people are not wearing the clothing that you are expecting them of the gender that they were assigned to when they were born. Whatever. But beyond that, but it's like, since we're already talking about this over here, this one individual that did the shooting, that the only responsibility of this person as being, the only thing that we need to talk about them as being transgender is that the person may happen to be transgendered, that has nothing to do with anything else. But we may as well talk about everything else. Like, all of this is connected. That is the type of thing I've seen how people would go after an innocent person who was Muslim, or people who were Muslim, or people who were Jewish, or people who were black or Hispanic or Asian. If anything happens in a particular demographic that somebody does some evil, and this particular demographic has a political system and people with narratives that are already raining shit down on them, they would point to this incident and then lay the blame of this individual that did wrong, that did evil, on everybody, claiming that this individual is a representation of all of them. They're not. Hell, if it is true that this person was a transgender man as opposed to a transgender woman, the majority of the narrative arguments that has been laid out against a transgender, which is majority of them being over against transgender women as opposed to transgender men, this gets a little tweaked as to, well, geez, I have all this stuff I want to say about transgender women because of them being biological men, because since we're conflating this to every other issue, bathrooms, sports, how transgender women in are more aggressive in their protest because of them being biologically male, or at the time, or pre-op or post-op, whatever. But you don't hear too much argument on transgender men. We get into the debated discussion concerning, like, say, Elliot Page, and how certain people ragged on Elliot Page and how he went through his assignment in his transition, and what the message does that send, and why is he flaunting himself, having better abs and, well, clearly me, I'm pudgy, but having better abs and shirtless, as opposed to other people who are just so totally offended. But you hear about that. You don't hear too much about the worry about transgender men, going into the male bathroom. I understand the argument of transgender women going into the ladies' room, and I am not disagreeing on that point. This is once again one of those things where we do not have a middle, where we don't go to the women who are seriously uncomfortable, and rightly so, for having a biological male come in and who is a transgender woman who is transitioning as far as they are at that moment, that they do not want to share the bathroom with someone of that nature, for them or for their children. Can't really have much of an argument with that. But the thing is that you have to imagine, and again, this is an outside observer point of view, so this is just opinion, okay? Don't shoot the messenger here. Then you go, okay, I can totally understand that. I can totally agree with that. Fine. So this transgender woman has to use the male's bathroom. Depending how far into their transition, how will they, do you see the fear? Or do you understand the apprehension in that? And what would happen if a transgender woman, frequents the male's bathroom? I mean, I think of like one simple solution to that, and a simple solution is so simple, yet is so smug, so bigoted, so closed-minded, so without thought or understanding. The simple solution: don't be trans. Don't dress up like a woman. Just walk in there looking like a guy. Okay, that's... So they essentially have to, for the sake of probably their own safety, and for the comfort levels of those who happen to be in that bathroom or so, they'll have to go and change who they are, or revert themselves back into a form that you find tolerable and acceptable, so they can just simply go to the bathroom. There has to be a middle ground on this, something that we can all reach out to each other to try to understand each other's positions. I have this kind of history that didn't really want to get into, but I'm not going to mention names here, but it's important for this particular argument, and why I have a quasi interest in this. A next of mine, we were together for years. Got to know her family. She has a sister that has kids. I love the family. I don't, the differences I have with me and my ex notwithstanding, I love the family. I love her sister. I love her husband. I love their 2 kids. She has a nephew. Nephew is transitioning. Now I knew him prior, and over the years, we went through graduating from high school and moving on was when he started to seriously go into the process of transitioning in terms of, hormones and everything else of that nature to progress on his journey. Along the way, before any of that happening, while he declared his intentions of transitioning, the family had been completely and totally supportive of him. I mean, that's a blessing, given how I'm sure a lot more families would not be as understanding. And it's not as if it's like political activism, or they're not making a statement about it. This is quiet, personal, intimate. This is what he's choosing to go through to know himself, to represent himself. At the same time, even I'm away, I haven't seen these people in years at this point, but still, and despite how my relationship came and went with my ex, I have a tendency, as the people that come and go in my life, I don't forget. And certain emotions, I don't forget. I don't drop. It doesn't turn to ash for me. Some things are locked in my heart. It's just another facet of the diamond. But I worry. Even far away, never see these people, never see this person, never see him. I worry. Because go into the male's bathroom at the wrong time? Or if he was forced to go to the other bathroom, how does that play out? How does that work? At the bare minimum of worrying about the level of disrespect and discarding of his self, being compelled to do that. And how, if there was anyone in there, any lady or any girl, what would they be thinking at that point? It worries me. It's one of the reasons why I'm even on this topic. Is that when it comes down to, when you try to chalk it down to something small and something simple, it's thinking about it just being basic human respect. And just the problem with that is that things are not that simple. The respect part should be given. But everything else, the actual life, living logistics, that it will take understanding and compromise and getting to that middle where we can go and express ourselves and come up with a solution. Because there is no solution at this point. For the issues like concerning bathrooms or concerning sports, there is no solution. I mean, throw it out an idea. Transgender female cannot go to a women's bathroom? Fine. I just, given the reasons stated, that is completely understandable. Where do they go? You're so concerned about the biological male and what they would do to in the girls' bathroom, and without any point of that worry is not justified. That is justified. Where do they go? Do you trust the cis males in the men's bathroom to totally respectfully, sidestep and giving room to a transgender woman to walk in there and do her business in the bathroom? Because, as I tried stated in the last video, I'm operating on the assumption that every demographic has assholes, that has evil people that does evil intentions. There's always a small group within the demographic, but other people with an agenda will take a look at that small group and then lambaste it on all the people as if this small group represents them all. And that would not be fair. So transgender woman trying to go to the bathroom has to be forced to go to the male's bathroom with the environment of the agendas, of the narrative, of the politics, of the day, of how we're having these hot-butted conversations. There's a percentage chance of someone of this nature walking in and walking out, or not walking out. So again, as I kind of ask and almost implore at this point, what's the middle ground here? What can we do? What can we do? And if we even blurt out something like, all right, well then let's have a transgender bathroom. Really? Okay. That's not necessarily a bad idea, but both genders of the transgender goes to this one bathroom? Or are we going to make four genders worth a bathroom? Men, women, transgender men, transgender women? Or are you just lumping all the transgender men and women in the same bathroom? Do you think anyone who happens to have an evil intention, if a small minority there, might do something within there? Is there concern for that? I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. Or then you think of all the non-binary. Or the other genders. Are we going to have the thing where we represent everybody on the spectrum to be represented here? Be a nice idea, but how's the logistics of that? How do we as a society prepare for that? I don't know if we're capable of it or we're up for it. So again, these are pie in the sky ideas. All right, going along, and I'm going to revert back to where my original idea was before I started rambling upon every other issue concerning the transgender that people bring up, even though that has nothing to do with this one particular individual who picked up guns and decided to kill 6 people in a school that this person went to when they were younger. Who incidentally had a second target. So, but decided against it because of there being too much security. The idea was floated that this particular target was a shopping mall. So if it was anti-Christian to go after the school that this person went to because of Christianity, if this person decided to hit a mall, they're anti-mall? Is that the thrust? I agree with those that says that we need to see the manifesto for the sake of being accurate as to what the motivations are. I also understand the resistance of doing that, not only from the cops and from the newspapers who want to try to keep the crazies, who want to take who if there's anything offensive in the wording, if it is indeed something that is anti-Christian, So they go pissed off and they go walking out and stomping on the first transgender person they see because they're all enraged. But I understand also that those who are in the LGBTQ community, who also says, let's wait off on the manifesto for that very reason, that they fear that whatever's written down by this person's last essential planning and or confession of what they were doing and why they were doing it, whatever the motivation they decided to put out there, could reflect upon them, while they have no responsibility for this one person and what was going on in this one person's life. But that's, in our reality, that doesn't matter, does it? Because, once again, for those who are so based themselves on the narrative, all of them, transgender men, transgender women, all of them, are representative of this one person. Just like any evil fuck who uses them being transgender or pretending to be transgender, use that as a way to get into places they shouldn't be so they can molest or rape or impregnate people, just like in prison. Again, small minority. But for those who are against this whole group, becomes everybody. To the point where anyone has an opposition opinion on this, they'll get lumped into that minority, and then people will say, I won't trust my kids around you. They're right. It is their right. As a parent, that's. I don't think anyone should go, oh man, you shouldn't do that. No. As long as that's worry, especially of a worried parent, is not something to ever dismiss. But again, one side, other side. Nothing in the middle. Finding out this person was under treatment for emotional disorder. People will take that information because, oh well, the person was transgender, so clearly there's an emotional. No, that could actually be a completely separate thing. Or even if it isn't, maybe if that's a connection, maybe we don't know. See, that's the thing. That's maybes. That is guesswork. That is theory. We can theorize that maybe this person was diagnosed with this emotional disorder and was translated into the person's transgenderism because the parents who are somehow devout Christians or whatever, since they sent this person to a Christian school and they were Christian, they see, well, this person wants to be for themselves. Well, that's an emotional problem. That's a mental problem. That's clearly a clinical issue. But we don't know. We don't know what that is. We don't know what any of that is. That's the stuff that's being reported. The whole thing why I've been rambling nearly for an hour on here is that it pissed me off that people were going so half-cocked on the first day. With certainty, without all the information. Now, people like my friend Vin, from Vin and Sori in Middle America, which I inhabit on Facebook, and go support Middle America with Vin and Sori on YouTube. They're awesome people. And for timely, topical, political conversations, but also awesome reviews of first-timers of certain music. Check them out. When I started doing videos, and he encouraged me in doing videos, the one thing that me and him had an agreement on is that as much as we can, as humanly possible, when we see a news story come up, don't immediately jump on it. Don't jump, don't snap immediately. Just wait. Get all the information you can. It might take a few hours, might take a few days. And judge slowly. Because, snap decisions and snap proclamations of what somebody is could have people believing that, say, the Uvalde shooter at that school, according to a piece of shit politician, this person was transgender, he was anti-Christian, he was also an illegal immigrant, without any scrap of information, knowledge, or evidence of any of that. But said it because it was the political narrative that they were wanting to push. But like me, like Vin, judge slowly. Don't go rushing to make a video and proclaim our opinion or our point of view on the matter when we don't have all the information and all the facts in the matter. And in terms of this particular person who killed these 6 people, we do not have all the facts. We do not know the motivation. We find out that the parents was fearful of this person to have a gun. They thought he sold his gun, the one that they knew he had. They hoped that he would never have guns for fear of what he would do with them. And at this person's home, they found 7 of them. He had 3 on him. The AR-15 style rifle, the handheld, and the pistol. Over 100 rounds this person pumped out. As opposed to the narrative of, once again, certain individuals on the right who were complaining about, the side door was open, they need to lock all side doors. This person shot their way through the door to get in. So that argument was moot. And that was one of those arguments that is knee-jerk. They wanted to say that, so they make that into an issue, into a policy bullshit concerning doors, which they also did in Uvalde. Don't go off hat-cocked, and just with what little information that you find, and just post it, and post a video on it, or post your opinion on it with little information, and then, because when you do that and you're trying to fill the gaps of all the information, then that becomes supposition, conjecture, your theories, your imagination, your opinion, the percentage chance of this person might actually be, completely and utterly anti-Christian, and this was completely a Christian hit. Do you know for certain? No, but the evidence there is it's a Christian school, so why not? We don't know. It could very well be, but we don't know. So it is, I guess the key point I'm trying to make here, and I'm going to land the plane, I'm sorry, this is a long one, is I don't care about disrespecting the shooter, the dead shooter. And getting this person's motivations as to why doesn't mean I'm garnering sympathy for this person. This person's problems give this person the resolution within themselves that they're going to die this day, and if they're going to die this day, they're going to be seen and make a name for themselves by shooting children and school teachers of a school that they went to when they were younger. I don't give a shit about this person. The fact, or the close fact, that this person is transgender is meaningless to me. It could be a white man, it could be a black man, it could be a white woman, black woman, Hispanic male or female, Asian male or female, it could be Christian, Muslim, Jew, Sikh, atheist. It doesn't matter. Because the human respect that we would have for anybody else, that has to get lost when you rob someone of their lives violently. With no conditions, no argument on the matter, no, you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing this. No. But the thing that enrages me as much as that, as much as this person decided to take their problems out to kill other people for a glorified suicide by cop finale, perhaps, is how everyone else from that day, everyone with an agenda, everyone with a narrative, friends, opponents, rivals, people on the left, people on the right who had their own narratives, that was more important to them than the lives of these 6 people. It is hypocritical and annoying to hear how some Republicans will talk about, red flag laws now, or talk about, mental illness being the issue and not the actual guns, how this person was able to acquire guns and use guns. That it's not the guns, it's the mental illness. It's priceless that certain Republicans would bring that up. Certain Republicans who are, neo-worshippers of a certain former president. When that former president, during his time as president, rescinded Obama-era restrictions on who would be eligible to carry guns, making it easier for those with mental illness or emotional issues to be able to acquire a gun. Y'all made it easier. You don't think that they should have them, and yet you made it easier for them to have them. Consistency. Do you have it? So that's just that. That's just that. Okay, I'm nearly an hour here. But I had to vent out into the void all of this, so at least for my soul to be at peace, at least as some of this without this rotting to my core on this. I wish I was more, savvy technology-wise, so I can do other things in this. I have like spot windows, like articles on there, so you can see this stuff. And, unfortunately, technologically, I'm a bit of a simpleton on that. So this is why it's such a bare bones thing I've been doing for over 100 videos. But I appreciate those of you that actually watch this stuff. And appreciate all of you. Those who agree with me, those who don't care, those who disagree with me. Appreciate all of you. Because the thing is that if you don't at least have the conversation to disagree, then you're not trying to reach out. You're not trying to make people understand your point of view or be receptive when people are trying to express their understandings back. When we lose that utterly, that will be the end of us. That will be the national divorce that people were so wanting to talk about. The ranter rants because the urge to rant is always rising. Oh! Before I go, for those who are probably wondering why I've been sort of quiet on a certain subject, the certain little news tidbit that's been the past couple of days that we've been hearing about, or at least where we started to hear about it a week ago, and then goes up to this point of it being actually happening. Oh, I will get to that. That will be the fun one. But until then, you all have a good night, and I'll see you the next time my blood vessels go up like that.